Rabbi Frager, thank you very much for actually that introduction of my father-in-law. And I appreciate what you said about him very much. Very much. And excuse me if I get a little emotional about it, but let me first give a little introduction. It's Jonathan Birkin who's brought me to these dinners, and I got to tell you, he's a great, great individual, and as chairman of the Republican Party, I got to say also a great Republican, Jonathan Birkin. And I have been to Israel several times. The first was set up by Ron Lauder, and Bibi's advance man took me around Israel. It was a hell of an experience. What a spirit in that country. I remember when I was getting ready to leave, I was in Tel Aviv, and I was just talking with the Special Forces. I was in the Special Forces here in the United States. We were going back and forth, and I forgot I was in Tel Aviv. I felt like I was in New York. It was just the same kind of energy going on there that was very significant. I then went there another time. I was the director of a company called Noble Energy that developed 3 different gas fields off Israel, the last being the Leviathan field, which has made, the saying is that Moses searched all over the Middle East and went to the one place where there was no oil, no gas. Well, he just parted the wrong waters. He should have parted the Mediterranean, and there it was. There it was. And we developed the Leviathan field that not only made Israel energy independent with respect to gas, but now it's being exported to Egypt and to Jordan, and is knitting where there was no commerce in the past. Now there is some commerce, even though there is recognition. But it was what my father-in-law did came back to me in a way. A fellow named Seth Lipsky, who was a great editor of the Wall Street Journal. Now he's restarted The Sun in a internet format. And he asked me, I was sitting with some of his reporters, and he asked me, Ed, what are the similarities between what your father-in-law did for Israel in the Yom Kippur War and what's going on now in Ukraine? I thought about it. I said a few things, thought more about it. And I thought, this is something that I ought to put in the Wall Street Journal. And I wrote up the piece and submitted it, and they printed it. And basically, what happened, and actually the title on it was Ukraine. I wish I had thought of this. Ukraine, what would Nixon do? And it's simply my description of what my father-in-law did. On the holiest day of the Jewish year, in Yom Kippur, the Mossad said no problem, and this and that, and caught unawares, attacked from Syria and from Egypt. You all know the story. And Israel suffered huge material losses and was in very deep trouble. And they asked the United States for help. And the president asked Kissinger, talked to the Defense Department, let's get going, let's get things going. Came back and said the Defense Department is wondering about this and that. Then he came back again and said, the Air Force doesn't know whether they ought to use C-130s or C-5As. And President Nixon famously said, I don't care. Send anything that flies. Excuse me, I get a little bit emotional about it. That kind of heroic thing. And that did it. The C-130s, C-5As, and when I described this to Seth Lipsky, he said, yeah, he remembered those. There was a reporter at that meeting who said, yes, your father-in-law saved me. I was wounded in a tank. And the morale boost, the equipment coming, and Israel, of course, then went on the offensive. And the Arabs were being defeated. And Moscow said, all right, we're sending Russian troops. What did President Nixon say? We're going to DEFCON 3. You send troops, we send troops. What did Moscow do? They backed off. And they did not get back into the Mideast until President Obama invited them in for some red line issue, and they've been in there and causing trouble ever since. The only way you get something done with an ally and support them and bring peace, the Arabs never attacked Israel again like that. You do that through strength. It's only through strength that you get respect and that you actually can, and Israel has defended itself. And those few things that President Nixon did made the difference in Mideast. And I was asked in the parade, Israeli parade yesterday, and by the way, some people here were very kind and calling out to me from the sideline. It was great to see them. But I said, I was asked, what's the relation to the United States and the Republican Party and since I'm chairman of it, and Israel? I said, we and Israelites were allies yesterday, today, and we will be forever. Thank you very much.